The creator of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania recently explained how other variants were informed about Kang the Conqueror's passing in the film. The next Avengers movie, which is titled The Kang Dynasty, is itself a hint that the Conqueror will play a significant and potent role in the franchise's future. To the dismay of many fans, Kang was allegedly murdered at the conclusion of Quantumania. When they learned of the Conqueror's passing, hundreds of his versions appeared in the post-credits sequence, which was likely an even larger surprise. So, how the Kang variants found out about the Conqueror's demise? Stephen Broussard, producer of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania and vice president of production and development at Marvel Studios, recently spoke on the D23 Inside Disney podcast about the most recent MCU movie. Broussard was notably questioned regarding the death of Kang the Conqueror at the conclusion of the movie and how the Council of Kang variants knew about it in the first post-credits sequence. The producer merely said, "Heightened technology was the reason we were informed of his passing." He said that because of their rivalry, they already keep tabs on one another. He said, "That's a very interesting question. I think, by the subtext of the film itself, is that they have heightened technology, right? They're all from a far-flung future and that's part of what makes Kang so terrifying. So I think they kinda keep tabs on one another, which goes back to what He Who Remains told us in the final episode of Loki Season 1. There's a rivalry between the Kangs. There's a frenemies sense amongst them, that we're starting to get a sense of." Broussard continued by describing the rivalry between the Kang variants and how the post-credits sequence gave viewers a peek of it. He said, "And you see some of that in that little bit at the end of the film, where the two Kangs are carping at each other. And that's one of the interesting dynamics in the comics is that they do form a council with a common purpose, but squabble in and amongst themselves." The producer then returned to how they learned of the Conqueror's passing and even hinted that the fight between all of the variants could one day be shown on screen. He said, "So, I think they have their ways to know what the other person is doing, and we may find ourselves caught in that squabble as it goes forward, as it was in the comics. And that's one of the fun ideas to think about as we look ahead." He Who Remains earlier cautioned in Loki about how destructive his variants would be if they were allowed to freely wander the multiverse. Despite the fact that Quantumania's post-credits sequence included hundreds of his many variants, there wasn't much contact amongst them when they learned of the Conqueror's passing. Yet once the fighting starts, everyone and anything that gets in their way is in for a nasty time. In Quantumania, particularly at the conclusion of the film, Kang the Conqueror had the opportunity to fully showcase his abilities. While it was difficult for Scott and the others to combat him, they ultimately succeeded in taking out his Time Chair's power core and killing him. The Conqueror, however, also discussed with Scott his previous experience destroying alternate worlds and timelines and even proposed killing the Avengers. He explicitly mentioned murdering Thor, which highlights exactly how potent Kang is. The Kang variants most certainly possess a great deal of strength as well, thus the multiverse will require more than just the Avengers to put a stop to the battle if it escalates. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. See you soon.